Marcus Chen wiped the grease from his hands with a worn rag, squinting at the massive cargo hauler that dominated Base 7 of the Kepler station repair dock. 3 days he'd been working on the quantum drive alignment, and the stubborn piece of vegan engineering still refused to cooperate. The blue-skinned Altarian captain had been breathing down his neck, literally, given that the alien's respiratory system produced a sulfuric mist that made Marcus's eyes water. Human mechanic, Captain VexTH hissed through his translator unit, "My ship must depart within the solar cycle. The cargo I carry cannot wait." Marcus didn't look up from the drive housing. "And, I told you 3 times already, the quantum resonance chamber has a microfracture. Push it too hard and you'll blow a hole in spacetime big enough to swallow this station." The Altarian's gills fluttered in what Marcus had learned was their version of frustrated huffing. "Your species' reputation for mechanical aptitude appears to be greatly exaggerated." That stung. Humans had only been part of the Galactic Federation for 50 years, and they were still proving themselves worthy of membership. Marcus's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice level. "My species' reputation is for getting the job done right, not fast. You want fast, go to the Zephyrian speed shops. You want your ship to not explode, you wait for me to finish." VexTH's translated words came out as a string of what Marcus assumed were colorful Altarian curses before the captain stalked away, his webbed feet slapping against the deck plating. Marcus returned to his work, running a quantum scanner over the fractured chamber. The readings made him frown. This wasn't normal wear and tear. The pattern of stress fractures looked deliberate, almost artistic in their precision. He'd seen similar damage before, but where? His thoughts were interrupted by the emergency klaxon echoing through the station. Red lights bathed the repair bay as the station's AI announced in its maddeningly calm voice, "Code 7 breach in Sector 12. All personnel maintain minimum safe distance. Repeat, Code 7 breach in Sector 12. Code 7. That was the classification for unidentified hostile entities. Marcus straightened, his hand instinctively moving to the plasma torch on his belt. In 50 years of human membership in the Federation, they'd encountered their share of hostile aliens, but nothing that warranted a Code 7 on a major trading station like Kepler. The bay doors at the far end of the repair dock began to slide open, which was wrong on every level. Those doors led directly to space, and they should never open during a Code 7. Emergency protocols demanded immediate lockdown of all external access points. Marcus was backing toward the emergency shelter when something impossible squeezed through the opening bay doors. It was serpentine, easily 300 meters long, with scales that gleamed like fresh snow under the harsh dock lighting. Four massive wings folded against its body as it coiled into the repair bay, taking up nearly half the available space. Its head was the size of a small shuttle, dominated by eyes like pools of liquid mercury and jaws that could easily bite a starship in half. A dragon. An actual, honest-to-God dragon, like something out of Earth's oldest legends. Marcus's brain tried to process what he was seeing. Dragons weren't real. They were mythology, folklore, bedtime stories parents told children on Earth. Yet here was one, very real and very much inside the repair bay, its massive head swiveling toward him with predatory interest. The creature's albino coloring was striking against the industrial gray of the station. Every scale seemed to catch and reflect light in ways that shouldn't be possible, creating an almost hypnotic pattern across its hide. Steam rose from its nostrils, and Marcus caught the scent of ozone and something else, something that reminded him of the moment before lightning struck. The dragon's mercury eyes fixed on Marcus, and he felt a pressure in his mind, like someone gently probing at the edges of his consciousness. The sensation was alien but not unpleasant, more like curiosity than aggression. Then, Marcus noticed the damage. The dragon's left wing hung at an unnatural angle, the membrane between the wing bones torn and bleeding a luminescent blue fluid. Scorch marks across its flank suggested energy weapon impacts, and one of the horns crowning its massive skull was snapped off at the base. The creature was hurt. Badly. Marcus found his voice, though it came out as barely more than a whisper. Jesus Christ. The dragon's head tilted at the sound, those mercury eyes focusing on him with uncomfortable intensity. When it spoke, its voice resonated directly in Marcus's mind rather than through his ears, carrying harmonics that made his bones vibrate. You are not afraid. The mental voice carried surprise, tinged with something that might have been amusement. Your species continues to confound expectations. I'm terrified, Marcus managed to say aloud. I'm just too shocked to run. Honesty. How refreshing. The dragon shifted its massive bulk, careful not to damage the equipment scattered around the bay. I require assistance, small engineer. My wing is damaged beyond my ability to self-repair. Marcus stared at the creature, his mind racing. Dragons, apparently, were real. This one was hurt and asking for help. The rational part of his brain screamed that he should trigger the emergency beacon and wait for the Federation's xenobiology experts. The human part of his brain, the part that had made his species valuable to the galactic community, started calculating stress tolerances and healing rates. You're not from around here, Marcus said, which sounded stupid the moment it left his mouth. An astute observation. My kind dwells in the spaces between stars, where reality grows thin and possibility bleeds through. We are old, engineer. Older than your Federation, older than most of the species that comprise it. Then, why haven't we met before? The dragon's mental voice carried a note of sadness. Because we have learned to hide from those who would hunt us for our scales, our blood, our bones. Because legend is often safer than truth. Marcus understood. Humans had their own history of hunting legendary creatures to extinction. What happened to you? Raiders. Your species has a word for them, I believe. Pirates. The dragon's eyes flashed with what Marcus interpreted as anger. They carry weapons designed specifically for hunting my kind. They seek to capture rather than kill, which makes them more dangerous than simple murderers. Dragon hunters. Marcus felt sick. There are people hunting dragons. Not just people. A consortium of species, all seeking profit from our remains. Dragon scale armor is proof against most energy weapons. Our blood enhances psychic abilities. Our bones can focus quantum energies in ways your science has barely begun to understand. Marcus was already moving toward his toolkit, his mind shifting into problem-solving mode. Let me look at that wing. You would help me? You do not know what I am capable of. I know you're hurt, Marcus said, approaching the damaged wing with careful steps. I know someone was trying to hurt you worse. And I know I'm the best damn mechanic on this station. The dragon remained perfectly still as Marcus examined the wing membrane. The damage was extensive but not irreparable. The tears were clean, suggesting high-energy cutting tools rather than claws or conventional weapons. The wing bones themselves were intact, though the joint connecting wing to shoulder showed stress fractures similar to what he'd found in the Altarian ship's quantum chamber. This is going to sound weird, Marcus said, running his scanner over the damaged tissue, but your wing structure reminds me of a starship's solar sail array. The membrane's designed to catch and manipulate energy fields. Not so strange. My kind travels through space by riding the stellar winds, the streams of particles and energy that flow between stars. Our wings are indeed similar to your vessel's energy collection systems. Marcus nodded, pieces clicking into place. Which means I might actually be able to help. But I'm going to need materials. And time. And for you to trust me not to hurt you worse. The dragon was quiet for a long moment, its massive head turned to study Marcus with those unsettling mercury eyes. You are small, it finally said, but your mind burns bright with curiosity and compassion. These are rare qualities among the star-traveling peoples. Don't sell humans short. We're good at fixing things. Yes. I have observed this about your species. You see something broken and your first instinct is to repair it, not to exploit its weakness. Marcus felt a flush of pride at that assessment. So you'll let me help? I will allow you to try. But, know this, Marcus Chin, yes, I know your name. If you betray my trust, if you seek to harm or capture me, I will defend myself with the fury of a dying star. The casual mention of his name sent a chill down Marcus's spine, but he pushed the fear aside. Dragons, apparently, were telepathic. Of course it knew his name. I won't betray you, Marcus said simply. I give you my word. The word of a human. The dragon's mental voice carried contemplation. Your species' promises carry weight among the older powers.
Very well. Marcus spent the next several hours cataloging the damage and planning his approach.
The wing membrane was living tissue, but it shared enough structural similarities with synthetic materials that his repair techniques should work. The stress fractures in the wing bones were more challenging, requiring a delicate application of molecular welders to fuse the microbreaks without damaging the surrounding tissue. While he worked, the dragon spoke of its kind. They were ancient, predating most galactic civilizations by millions of years. They lived in the deep spaces between star systems, feeding on cosmic radiation and the exotic particles that streamed from dying stars. They rarely interacted with the younger species, preferring the solitude of the void. But the pirates have made that solitude impossible, the dragon explained as Marcus carefully applied a biocompatible sealant to the largest membrane tear. They hunt us with quantum nets that can trap us between dimensions. They use our own telepathic abilities against us, broadcasting psychic static that clouds our minds and makes escape difficult.
How many of your kind are left?
Fewer than there should be. We reproduce slowly, live long, and do not adapt quickly to new threats.
The pirates have been hunting us for perhaps 50 of your years, taking 1 or 2 dragons per solar cycle.
It seems sustainable until you realize that only a dozen of us remain. Marcus's hands stilled on his work.
A dozen? Out of how many? Once, we numbered in the thousands.
But time and the younger species' hunger for power have reduced us to a shadow of what we were.
The weight of that revelation settled on Marcus like a heavy blanket. He was working on one of the last 12 dragons in the galaxy.
The responsibility made his hands shake until he forced himself to steady them.
The raiders who hurt you, Marcus asked as he began work on the wing bone fractures, are they still out there?
They are. Their ship is damaged, I ensured that before fleeing, but they will repair and resume their hunt.
They know I am wounded, know I cannot travel far. They will find me eventually. Not if I can help it.
The dragon's laughter was like distant thunder in Marcus's mind. You are brave, little engineer, but this is beyond your capabilities. The raiders command a ship designed for hunting my kind. Their weapons can wound us, their nets can hold us.
What could one human do against such threats?
Marcus continued his work, but his mind was already racing ahead to possibilities.
You'd be surprised what one human can do when properly motivated.
As the hours passed, other station personnel began to appear at the edges of the repair bay, drawn by curiosity and rumors of the impossible creature now residing in Sector 7. Marcus spotted security uniforms, science division patches, and more than a few civilian gawkers. The dragon seemed unbothered by the attention, occasionally turning its massive head to study the growing crowd with those unnerving mercury eyes. Station Commander Yilix, a severe Thesian with cybernetic implants covering half her skull, eventually approached the work area. Her translator crackled with the authority of command.
Mr. Chen, I require a full briefing on the situation.
Marcus didn't look up from his work. Wounded refugee requested mechanical assistance.
I'm providing it.
That refugee registered as a Code 7 threat.
That refugee is sentient, intelligent, and hasn't hurt anyone since arriving. The Code 7 was an automated response to an unidentified biosignature. Commander Yilix's cybernetic eye whirred as it focused on the dragon. The creature is unprecedented.
It should be studied, catalogued, no. The dragon's mental voice was calm but carried undertones that made everyone in the bay step back instinctively.
I am not a specimen for your laboratories, Commander.
I am a free being seeking aid from one who has shown compassion. The Thaxian's hand moved toward her sidearm before she caught herself.
You speak into our minds without permission. This constitutes mental assault under Federation law.
Your Federation's laws apply to member species.
I am not a member of your Federation.
Marcus could feel the tension ratcheting up and decided to intervene.
Commander, the dragon hasn't threatened anyone or violated any Federation principles. It's asking for medical assistance, which falls under sapient rights provisions. The creature has a name, the dragon interrupted, its mental voice now carrying a hint of amusement.
I am called Vireneth, though my full designation would take several of your minutes to pronounce properly. Commander Yilix looked between Marcus and Vireneth, clearly calculating risks and political ramifications. This situation requires consultation with Federation Command.
Mr. Chen, you will continue your medical assistance while I contact appropriate authorities. After the commander left, Vireneth's mental voice carried warm approval. You defend me to your superiors. This speaks well of your character.
I defend what's right, Marcus said, applying the final touches to the wing membrane repairs.
And what's right is helping someone who needs help. Even when that someone could destroy your station with a thought? Marcus looked up at the dragon's massive head. Could you? Yes. But you won't. No. Then, we understand each other.
The repair work took most of the station's day cycle. Marcus found himself falling into an easy rhythm of problem-solving and repair, treating Vireneth's injuries like any other complex engineering challenge. The dragon proved to be an excellent patient, remaining perfectly still during delicate work and providing feedback about sensation and mobility as the repairs progressed. As Marcus worked, Vireneth shared more about dragon culture and history. They were beings of deep contemplation and longer perspective, often spending decades or centuries in meditation among the cosmic winds. They valued knowledge and experience over material possessions, wisdom over power. They had watched civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy, sometimes intervening subtly to prevent catastrophes, more often simply observing and remembering.
We are the galaxy's memory, Vireneth explained.
We remember species that have fallen to war or disaster. We remember the patterns of history, the cycles of growth and decay.
We are librarians of existence itself. And now you're being hunted to extinction. Ironic, is it not?
The preservers of memory may become merely another memory preserved by others. Marcus finished the last of the wing repairs as the station's lights dimmed to simulate evening. Vireneth flexed the repaired wing experimentally, the membrane stretching and contracting with smooth, natural motion.
Remarkable, the dragon said, genuine surprise coloring its mental voice. The repair is nearly seamless. You have restored full function.
That's what I do, Marcus said, feeling a deep satisfaction at the successful repair.
Think you can fly? I can travel, yes. Though I suspect my hunters are already closing in.
They will have tracked my quantum signature to this system.
As if summoned by Vireneth's words, the station's emergency klaxons began blaring again. Commander Yilix's voice echoed through the repair bay, unknown vessel approaching on intercept vector. All personnel to emergency stations.
Marcus felt his blood run cold.
The hunters?
Vireneth's massive head turned toward the bay doors, those mercury eyes seeming to look through the station's hull into space beyond.
Yes.
They come with nets of force and weapons of pain.
They seek to take what they could not kill. Then, we need to get you out of here. Where would I go? They will track me across the galaxy if necessary. My kind's quantum signature is unique, unmistakable.
Marcus's mind was racing through possibilities, discarding options as quickly as he considered them. The station had defensive capabilities, but they were designed for deterring pirates and maintaining order, not protecting dragons from specialized hunters.
Running was pointless if the hunters could track Vireneth across interstellar distances.
Then, an idea struck him, so simple and audacious that it might actually work.
What if they couldn't track you? Marcus asked. Impossible. My quantum signature could be masked.
Hidden behind a stronger signal. Marcus was already moving toward his toolkit, pulling out quantum field generators and signal modulators.
I've been working on Captain Vex TH's ship.
Its quantum drive has microfractures that are causing harmonic resonance patterns. Vireneth's mental voice carried sudden understanding. You would hide my signature within the ship's quantum wake.
More than that.
I'm going to sync your bioelectrical field to the ship's drive harmonics. To any scanner, you'll look like part of the ship's propulsion system. The technical challenges alone are why they pay me to fix impossible things, Marcus interrupted, already connecting field generators to his scanner array.
But, I need you to do exactly what I tell you, when I tell you. Can you modulate your bioelectrical output? Within limits, yes. Then, we might just pull this off.
The next 20 minutes were the longest of Marcus's life. Working with desperate speed, he reconfigured the quantum field generators to create a masking field around Virineth while simultaneously amplifying the harmonic resonance from the damaged Altarian ship. The Dragon proved remarkably adaptable, adjusting its bioelectrical signature in real time to match Marcus's readings. Commander Yilix returned to the bay as Marcus made final adjustments to the masking field.
Mr.
Chen, the approaching vessel is broadcasting demands for surrender of stolen property. They claim legal salvage rights.
Salvage rights over a sentient being?
Marcus didn't look up from his work.
That's slavery with extra steps.
Nevertheless, they carry documentation from the hegemony authorities. The hegemony isn't part of the Federation, Virineth interrupted. Their laws carry no weight here.
Commander Yilix's cybernetic eye focused on the Dragon.
They threaten to take what they seek by force if we do not comply.
Marcus finished his calibrations and stepped back from the equipment.
Virineth was now completely enclosed in a shimmering field of quantum energy that made the Dragon appear to flicker in and out of existence.
To any external sensor, the biosignature would be lost in the static generated by the masking field.
Let them threaten, Marcus said.
They're looking for a Dragon.
What they'll find is a space station with some damaged equipment and a very angry human mechanic. The hunter ship settled into a standard docking configuration, though Marcus noticed it maintained position for quick departure. The vessel was sleek and predatory, clearly designed for speed and stealth rather than comfort. Its hull was matte black with sensor arrays that looked sophisticated enough to track a whisper across a solar system. The hunting team that disembarked was led by a tall, pale humanoid that Marcus didn't recognize, some species he'd never encountered before. They moved with military precision, carrying scanning equipment and weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Marcus remained in the repair bay, ostensibly working on the Altarian ship while Virineth lay motionless within the masking field. To the casual observer, the Dragon would appear to be nothing more than an unusual energy pattern generated by the damaged quantum drive. The lead hunter entered the bay with confident strides, his scanner sweeping the area methodically. He was followed by two others, a reptilian saurian and something that looked like a walking crystal formation. I am Kethari Voss, the pale humanoid announced through his translator. I seek a wounded dragon that escaped from legal custody. Our tracking indicates the creature fled to this location. Marcus looked up from his work with studied indifference.
Haven't seen any dragons lately.
Just broken ships and cranky captains.
Voss's scanner continued its sweep, pausing momentarily as it passed over Virineth's hidden form.
The readings showed only the quantum static that Marcus had carefully calibrated to mask the Dragon's signature. Our instruments detected a quantum disturbance consistent with Dragon biosignatures, the Saurian said, his forked tongue tasting the air. The creature must be here. Your instruments are detecting the harmonic resonance from this ship's damaged quantum chamber, Marcus replied, pointing to the Altarian vessel. Been dealing with it for 3 days now.
Creates all kinds of weird readings.
Voss approached the masking field, his scanner registering only the artificial quantum static. Marcus held his breath as the hunter studied the readings, clearly puzzled by the lack of expected biosignatures.
This quantum pattern, Voss began,
is from microfractures in the resonance chamber, Marcus interrupted.
Want me to show you the damage reports?
The hunter team spent another 30 minutes scanning the bay, growing increasingly frustrated as their instruments failed to detect any trace of Dragon biosignatures. Virineth remained perfectly still throughout the search, trusting completely in Marcus's technical solution.
Finally, Voss gathered his team for consultation.
Marcus couldn't hear their whispered conversation, but their body language suggested disagreement and confusion. The Dragon was wounded, Voss announced eventually.
It cannot have traveled far.
We will expand our search to other areas of this system. After the hunters departed, Marcus waited a full hour before deactivating the masking field.
Virineth flickered back into full visibility, those mercury eyes reflecting what Marcus interpreted as amazement.
They looked directly at me, the Dragon said, wonder coloring its mental voice. Their scanners passed over my position repeatedly, yet they detected nothing.
Human ingenuity, Marcus said with pride. We're pretty good at making things disappear when we need to.
You have given me a gift beyond measure, the gift of continued existence.
How can I repay such kindness?
Marcus was about to respond when another voice cut through the bay.
That was the most impressive display of engineering creativity I've witnessed in 40 years of space travel.
Marcus turned to see Captain Vex TH approaching, the Altarian's gills fluttering with what Marcus now recognized as approval rather than annoyance.
Captain, your ship can wait another day, Vex TH interrupted.
What you have accomplished here transcends mere mechanical repair. You have preserved something precious and rare.
Viranetha's massive head turned toward the Altarian captain. You do not fear me?
I am old enough to remember the stories my grandmother told of the great dragons that sailed between the stars.
To meet one of the last of your kind is an honor I never expected.
Marcus felt a warmth spreading through his chest as he watched the interaction between captain and dragon. This was why humans had been accepted into the Federation, not just for their technical skills, but for their ability to see past surface differences and find common ground with alien minds. The hunters will return, Viraneth said eventually.
My presence here endangers this station and everyone on it.
Then, we'll make sure you're somewhere safe before they come back, Marcus said.
I've got some ideas. You would continue to help me? Even knowing the risks?
Marcus looked up at the magnificent creature that had trusted him with its life, thinking about all the species in the galaxy and how few of them would have stopped to help a wounded stranger. Humanity might be young and inexperienced in galactic terms, but they understood something that older, more advanced species seemed to have forgotten. Sometimes the most important thing you could do was simply care enough to try. That's what friends do, Marcus said simply. They help each other. Viranetha's mental voice carried harmonics of deep emotion when it responded.
Friend.
Yes, I believe that is the correct word. Hashtag the Dragon's Secret. The next few days aboard Kepler Station passed in a strange routine. Marcus continued his regular repair work while Viraneth remained hidden within the quantum masking field, their conversations growing deeper as trust developed between human and dragon. Marcus learned that dragons possessed memories spanning millennia, carrying within them the complete histories of civilizations that had risen and fallen across the galaxy.
Your species fascinates me, Viraneth confided during one of their evening talks. Most sapient beings develop predictable patterns as they mature.
They become conservative, risk-averse, focused on preservation of existing power structures.
Yet humans retain curiosity and adaptability regardless of age.
Marcus was calibrating the masking field generators, a daily maintenance task that ensured Viranetha's continued invisibility.
Maybe it's because we haven't been around long enough to get set in our ways.
Perhaps.
Or perhaps it is something more fundamental to your nature. Their philosophical discussions were interrupted by Commander Yilix's arrival in the repair bay.
The Thaxian's cybernetic implants flickered with incoming data streams, and her expression suggested urgent news.
Mr. Chen, we've received concerning intelligence from Federation Command.
The hunting party that visited our station has been tracked to 3 other locations in this sector.
They're not searching randomly, they're following a specific pattern. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. What kind of pattern?
They're hitting every major repair facility and trading post within 50 parsecs.
Someone is providing them with detailed intelligence about potential dragon hiding spots.
Viranetha's mental voice carried dark understanding. They have allies among the Federation species. Someone with access to your databases and communication networks.
That's impossible, Commander Yilix protested. Federation security protocols are designed to prevent external threats, Viraneth interrupted.
They are less effective against corruption from within. Marcus set down his tools, his mind racing through implications. If they have inside information, they'll figure out our masking technique eventually.
We need a better long-term solution. I have been considering this problem, Viraneth said.
There is a place my kind once called Sanctuary, though it has been abandoned for centuries.
If I could reach the Nexus. What's the Nexus? Marcus asked. An ancient space station built by the first generation of star-traveling species.
It exists in a region of space where normal physical laws become flexible.
Dragons once gathered there for conclave and contemplation. Commander Yilix's cybernetic eye whirred as it processed this information. You're describing the ghost sector. That region has been off limits to Federation vessels for over 200 years. Ships that enter either never return or come back with crews suffering complete memory loss.
The defenses still function, then, Viraneth said with satisfaction. The Nexus was designed to be invisible to those who might misuse its knowledge. Only beings of sufficient wisdom and pure intent can safely approach. Marcus was already pulling up star charts on his workstation.
How far is this Nexus?
Approximately 15 light-years from this position, deep within the region your species calls the Ghost Sector.
15 light-years. Marcus studied the navigational data. That's a week's journey in a fast ship, longer in anything capable of carrying you safely.
I do not require a ship, Viraneth said. I can travel through space using my natural abilities. However, in my current condition, such a journey would be extremely dangerous.
Your injuries, Marcus realized. Space travel without a ship while you're still healing could kill you. Indeed. And, the hunter's tracking methods become more accurate across open space. They would intercept me long before I reached safety.
Marcus stared at the star charts, ideas percolating in the back of his mind. The Ghost Sector was forbidden territory, but Viraneth claimed safe passage for those with pure intent. The dragon needed protection during travel, but conventional ships would be detected immediately by hunter tracking systems.
Unless. What if you didn't travel alone? Marcus asked slowly. I do not understand.
Marcus was already pulling up technical specifications, his mind jumping ahead to engineering possibilities.
What if someone went with you? Someone with a ship modified to provide life support and protection during space travel? Viranetha's mental voice carried alarm. You cannot be suggesting what I think you are suggesting. Why not? Humans have always been explorers. We've got ships designed for long-range travel, we understand life support systems, and we're not bound by Federation restrictions on entering prohibited sectors. The Ghost Sector destroys minds, Marcus Chen. Even if you could survive the physical journey, the psychological damage would leave you a hollow shell.
But, you said beings with pure intent could pass safely.
What if that applies to your companions as well? Commander Yilix had been listening with growing concern. Mr. Chen, you're proposing to violate direct Federation orders by entering a prohibited sector.
The legal ramifications alone don't apply to civilian contractors operating outside Federation space, Marcus interrupted.
I'm not military.
I'm a freelance mechanic with my own ship and my own business license. Your ship is a cargo hauler designed for station-to-station transport, the commander protested.
It's not equipped for extended deep space travel. Marcus grinned. It's not equipped for it yet.
The next 48 hours saw Marcus throwing himself into the most ambitious modification project of his career. His ship, the Ptolemy, was a reliable but unremarkable human-built vessel designed for short-haul cargo runs between space stations. Converting it for deep space travel and dragon transport would require extensive modifications to life support, propulsion, and structural integrity systems. Fortunately, Marcus had help. Captain VexTH proved unexpectedly valuable as an engineering consultant, his species' expertise with quantum drive systems complementing Marcus's mechanical knowledge. Other station personnel contributed supplies and technical assistance, either out of curiosity about the project or genuine desire to help the wounded dragon. You're building something unprecedented, VexTH observed as they installed additional atmospheric recyclers in the Ptolemy's cargo hold. A vessel designed to carry both human and dragons safely across interstellar distances. It's all about life support redundancy, Marcus explained, welding support brackets for the new equipment. Viraneth doesn't need atmosphere like we do, but space travel still puts stress on dragon physiology. I'm creating a modified environment that can support both species. The most challenging aspect was modifying the ship's quantum drive to mask both the vessel's signature and Viranetha's bioelectrical field. Marcus adapted his masking field technology to work with the ship's propulsion system, creating what he hoped would be an effective stealth capability. Viraneth observed the modifications with growing amazement.
You are rewriting the fundamental design principles of your vessel. The technical complexity alone is why I love this job, Marcus finished. Besides, humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Your species continues to surprise me. Most beings would consider such modifications impossible. Most beings haven't met a stubborn human mechanic. As the modifications neared completion, disturbing news reached the station. The hunter team had returned to the system, this time with additional ships and more sophisticated scanning equipment. They were conducting a systematic search of every vessel and facility in the sector. They know you're here, Commander Yilix reported during an emergency briefing. Their enhanced scanning array detected residual quantum signatures consistent with dragon biopatterns.
Marcus felt his pulse quicken.
How long before they identify the exact source? Hours, at best. Their equipment is far more advanced than our original assessments indicated. Viranetha's mental voice carried calm resolve.
Then, we must depart immediately. The modifications to your vessel will have to be sufficient.
Marcus reviewed his checklist.
The Ptolemy was spaceworthy and the life support modifications were complete, but he'd planned on another day of testing and calibration. They would be flying into the unknown with untested systems and minimal preparation time.
Are you ready for this? Marcus asked the dragon. I am ready to trust in your skill and our friendship.
The departure preparations took place under the cover of routine cargo operations. Marcus filed a flight plan for a standard supply run to the outer system, while Viraneth carefully maneuvered into the Ptolemy's modified cargo hold. The masking field generators were activated, creating a quantum static envelope around the entire ship. Captain VexTH appeared at the Ptolemy's boarding ramp as Marcus completed final systems checks. I have something that may assist your journey, the Altarian said, presenting Marcus with a small crystalline device.
What is it? A quantum compass of my people's design. It will guide you through regions where normal navigation becomes unreliable.
Marcus accepted the device with gratitude.
Thank you. For everything. Thank me by succeeding.
What you attempt has value beyond the preservation of a single dragon's life.
You carry hope for understanding between species.
The Ptolemy departed Kepler station on schedule, maintaining standard velocity and heading until well beyond sensor range. Only then did Marcus alter course toward the Ghost sector, the ship's modified drive systems humming with barely contained energy. The journey began uneventfully. Space travel, even under unusual circumstances, involved long periods of routine system monitoring and course corrections. Marcus spent his time familiarizing himself with the ship's new capabilities while Viraneth rested in the cargo hold, allowing his injuries to complete their healing process. Tell me about the Nexus, Marcus requested during their third day of travel.
What exactly will we find there?
A place of learning and contemplation built by species whose names have been forgotten for millions of years. The station exists partially outside normal spacetime, which is why your Federation ships cannot safely approach it.
And you're sure we'll be able to get inside?
I am sure that beings approaching with pure intent and noble purpose will find passage.
You have already demonstrated both qualities.
On the fifth day, they crossed into the Ghost sector proper. Marcus felt the change immediately. Instruments began showing subtle anomalies, and the stars visible through the viewport seemed to shift position when he wasn't looking directly at them.
The boundaries between dimensions grow thin here, Viraneth explained. Reality becomes more negotiable. That's comforting, Marcus muttered, trying to maintain focus on navigation despite the increasingly surreal readings from his instruments.
The quantum compass VexTH had provided proved invaluable, its crystalline structure resonating with harmonic frequencies that seemed to cut through the spatial distortions. Following its guidance, Marcus piloted the Ptolemy deeper into the sector, past regions where starlight bent in impossible directions and nebulae flickered between existence and void.
How much further?
Marcus asked as they completed their sixth day of travel.
Soon.
The Nexus exists at the sector's heart, where the fabric of spacetime is most malleable.
As if summoned by Viranetha's words, their destination appeared on the Ptolemy sensors.
The Nexus was unlike anything in Marcus's experience, a vast, crystalline structure that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Parts of the station were clearly visible while others phased in and out of perception like mirages. "It's beautiful," Marcus breathed. "It is a monument to the collaboration between species that no longer exist. They built this place as a sanctuary for knowledge and wisdom, hoping future generations would find value in their achievements." Marcus carefully guided the Ptolemy toward the station's docking facilities, noting that the approach vectors seemed to adjust themselves to accommodate his ship's approach. The Nexus was welcoming them. The docking process was surprisingly straightforward despite the station's otherworldly appearance. Automated systems guided the Ptolemy into a berth that seemed designed specifically for their vessel, which was impossible given that the station predated human space travel by millions of years. "The Nexus adapts to the needs of its visitors," Vireneth explained as they disembarked into the station proper. "It was designed to accommodate any species that might seek sanctuary here." The interior of the Nexus defied easy description. Corridors stretched in directions that shouldn't exist, while chambers opened onto views of distant galaxies and impossible geometries. Everything was built on a scale that could accommodate beings ranging from humanoid size to creatures as massive as Vireneth. "This place, how does it work?" Marcus asked, his engineer's mind struggling to process what he was seeing. "Technology indistinguishable from magic," as one of your species' authors once wrote. "The builders transcended the limitations of normal physics through understanding we can barely comprehend." They made their way through the station toward what Vireneth identified as the Dragon Sanctuary, a section of the Nexus specifically designed for his kind. The chambers they passed contained archives of knowledge from dozens of extinct civilizations, their wisdom preserved in crystalline matrices that hummed with stored information. The Dragon Sanctuary was a marvel of engineering and artistry. Vast chambers opened onto views of cosmic phenomena, while environmental systems maintained conditions perfect for dragon physiology. Most importantly, the sanctuary was shielded by the same dimensional barriers that protected the entire Nexus. "You will be safe here," Marcus said as Vireneth settled into one of the larger chambers. "The hunters will never find this place." "Safety was never my primary concern," the dragon replied. "Preservation of knowledge was. This sanctuary contains the accumulated wisdom of my kind, stories, histories, scientific discoveries that span millions of years. If I am indeed among the last of the dragons, this knowledge must be preserved." Marcus spent the next several hours exploring the sanctuary with growing amazement. The dragons had been scientists, philosophers, and historians on a scale that dwarfed human civilization. Their archives contained solutions to problems humanity had barely begun to consider, technologies that could revolutionize galactic society. "This knowledge," Marcus said eventually, "it could change everything. End wars, solve resource shortages, advance every species in the Federation by thousands of years." "Yes," Vireneth agreed. "That is precisely why it must be carefully guarded." "Guarded? But, if this could help people, consider your own species' history. When humans discovered nuclear energy, did they use it primarily for peaceful purposes? When you developed genetic engineering, were the first applications for healing or for weapons?" Marcus felt the weight of that truth. "You think giving this knowledge to the galaxy would be dangerous? I think knowledge without wisdom is the most dangerous force in the universe. The species that built this place understood that. They designed the Nexus to only accept visitors who approached with pure intent, who sought understanding rather than power." As they explored deeper into the sanctuary, Vireneth showed Marcus archives containing the complete history of dragon civilization. They had once been explorers and teachers, sharing knowledge freely with younger species. But, over time, they had learned the hard lesson that not all beings could handle advanced knowledge responsibly. "We withdrew from galactic society not out of arrogance, but out of necessity," Vireneth explained. "Too often, our gifts were turned into weapons." "But, you trusted me," Marcus pointed out. "You shared your secrets with a human. Because you demonstrated the qualities we value most: compassion, curiosity, and the willingness to help without expectation of reward. These are the marks of true wisdom." They had been in the sanctuary for several hours when the Nexus's warning systems activated. Harmonic tones echoed through the chambers, and crystalline displays showed approaching vessels still days away from the station. The hunters, Marcus realized.
they followed us.
Impossible, Vireneth said, but his mental voice carried uncertainty.
The Nexus should be invisible to their tracking methods.
Marcus was already running toward the Ptolemy, his mind racing through possibilities.
Unless they're not tracking us. What if they're following something else?
Back aboard his ship, Marcus activated every sensor array and scanning system the Ptolemy possessed. The readings confirmed his worst fears. A fleet of hunter ships was approaching the Ghost Sector, led by the same vessels they had encountered at Kepler Station.
How did they find us?
Vireneth demanded as he joined Marcus in the ship's control room. Marcus studied the sensor data, noting the sophisticated scanning arrays mounted on the hunter vessels.
They're not following our trail. They're following something else entirely. What do you mean?
Look at their approach vector. They're not searching, they know exactly where they're going.
Someone told them about the Nexus. The implications hit both of them simultaneously.
The hunters had inside information about Dragon Sanctuary locations, which meant their Federation contact had access to the most closely guarded secrets of galactic history. We have to warn the Federation, Marcus said, reaching for the communication controls.
Wait. Vireneth's massive head turned toward the Sanctuary's archives. There is something else you must know first. Something that will change your understanding of this entire situation. What?
The Nexus archives contain complete historical records of every species that has achieved star travel in the last 10 million years.
I have been accessing those records since we arrived. Marcus felt a chill of premonition. And the species leading the hunt for my kind, they are not unknown. They are the last survivors of a civilization that my ancestors helped to defeat over 1 million years ago. The pale humanoids? The Kethmori.
Once, they ruled a galactic empire built on the exploitation and enslavement of other species. They were defeated by an alliance that included the dragons, but some of their kind escaped to the void between galaxies.
Marcus stared at the approaching fleet on his sensors. And now they're back.
They seek dragons not just for our physical properties, but for our memories. We carry within us the location of ancient weapons and technologies that could restore their empire.
If they capture me,
they get access to 1 million years of dragon memories. Marcus felt the full weight of the situation settling on him.
This isn't just about hunting dragons. This is about conquering the galaxy.
Vireneth's mental voice carried grim resolve.
Indeed.
And we are the only ones who know their true identity and purpose. Marcus looked at the approaching hunter fleet, then at the vast archives of the Dragon Sanctuary. Somewhere in those crystalline matrices was knowledge that could save or damn the galaxy, depending on who controlled it. Then, we better figure out how to stop them, Marcus said.
Yes, Vireneth agreed.
But, first, there is something else you must understand about the choice you made to help me.
What choice? The dragon's mercury eyes fixed on Marcus with uncomfortable intensity.
The choice to risk everything for a stranger. The Nexus archives contain records of every being who has ever entered this sanctuary.
Do you know what they all had in common?
Marcus shook his head. They were all chosen. Selected by the Nexus itself based on their potential to safeguard its knowledge.
You did not find me by accident, Marcus Chen. The Nexus brought us together.
That's impossible.
Is it? Consider the sequence of events that led to our meeting.
A damaged Altarian ship with quantum drive fractures that created the exact harmonic resonance needed to mask my biosignature. A repair bay on a station positioned along my only possible escape route. A human mechanic with both the technical skill and moral character needed to help me. Marcus felt reality shifting around him as the implications sank in.
You're saying this was all planned? I am saying that some forms of technology are indistinguishable from destiny. The Nexus has been guiding events to bring together the right people at the right time.
For what purpose? Vireneth's mental voice carried harmonics of deep emotion. To choose a guardian for its knowledge. Someone who could be trusted with the power to save or destroy civilizations. Marcus stared at the dragon, then at the approaching fleet, then at the impossible sanctuary surrounding them.
The weight of cosmic responsibility settled on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. And if I refuse?
Then, the knowledge dies with me, and the galaxy falls to darkness.
But, if you accept? If I accept?
Then, you become something unprecedented in galactic history.
A human guardian of dragon wisdom. A bridge between species. A keeper of the most dangerous and valuable knowledge in the universe.
The Hunter fleet continued its approach, bearing down on the Nexus with inexorable purpose. Marcus stood at the crossroads of destiny, holding the fate of countless worlds in his hands.
What exactly are you asking me to do?
Hashtag the Guardian's Choice. Viranetha's mental voice carried the weight of eternity as he answered Marcus's question.
I am asking you to become the first human guardian of the Nexus. To accept the knowledge and responsibility that comes with protecting secrets that could reshape the galaxy.
Marcus stared at the dragon, his mind reeling from the implications.
Guardian? What does that mean exactly?
It means bonding with the Nexus consciousness, gaining access to the accumulated wisdom of millions of years. It means becoming immortal, capable of surviving across galactic epochs to protect this knowledge.
It means sacrificing your humanity to become something greater.
The words hit Marcus like a physical blow.
Sacrificing my humanity? Not losing it, Viraneth clarified quickly. Transcending it.
The Nexus enhances rather than replaces what you are. Previous Guardians retained their essential nature while gaining capabilities beyond their species' normal limits.
Marcus looked around the impossible sanctuary, processing what he was being offered. Immortality. Cosmic knowledge. The power to guide civilizations across eons. And all it would cost was everything he had ever known. How many Guardians have there been? Dozens, across the millennia. Each chosen for their unique qualities and moral character. Each tasked with protecting the archives until a worthy successor emerged. What happened to them?
They moved on to other forms of existence when their service ended. The Nexus connection allows for transformation into pure energy, consciousness unbound by physical form. Marcus felt overwhelmed by the scope of what was being proposed.
And if I say no?
Then, I will attempt to defend the Nexus alone, and likely fail. The Hunters will gain access to dragon memories and ancient weapons. The Kethmori Empire will rise again, and, this time, there will be no alliance strong enough to stop them.
The approaching fleet was now visible on long-range sensors, a collection of sleek predatory vessels moving with deadly purpose toward the Nexus.
Marcus could see additional ships joining the formation. This wasn't just a hunting party, it was an invasion force.
How much time do we have? Marcus asked.
Perhaps 6 hours before they reach firing range. The Nexus defenses will hold for a time, but not indefinitely against focused assault. Marcus made his decision with the same quick certainty that had guided him through years of impossible repairs.
Tell me what I need to do. Viranetha's mental voice carried surprise and approval. You accept? I accept the responsibility. Whether I accept the transformation, we'll see.
The dragon led Marcus deeper into the sanctuary, toward a chamber that hummed with barely contained energy. At its center stood a crystalline structure that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, its faceted surface reflecting views of distant galaxies and impossible geometries. This is the Nexus core, Viraneth explained. The consciousness that guides this station and chooses its guardians. To accept the role, you must establish direct contact with its intelligence. Marcus approached the crystal with careful steps, noting how reality seemed to bend around its presence. The air itself felt thick with potential, as if touching the structure would fundamentally alter his existence.
Will I still be me? Marcus asked.
You will be more than you ever imagined possible, yet fundamentally unchanged. The Nexus enhances qualities that already exist rather than replacing them with alien thoughts. Marcus reached out and pressed his palm against the crystal surface. The contact was immediate and overwhelming. Knowledge flooded his consciousness, the history of 1,000,000 civilizations, scientific principles that transcended human understanding, philosophical insights spanning eons of contemplation. But, beneath the torrent of information, Marcus felt a presence vast and ancient, yet somehow familiar. Welcome, Marcus Chan, the Nexus consciousness spoke directly to his mind.
We have been waiting for you. Waiting? Marcus managed to think back.
For someone with the wisdom to repair rather than replace, to preserve rather than exploit.
Your actions with Vireneth demonstrated the qualities we seek in a guardian.
Images flashed through Marcus's consciousness, previous guardians across the millennia, beings of various species who had accepted the role and guided the preservation of knowledge through dark times. He saw civilizations rise and fall, watched as guardians made impossible choices to protect or release information that could save or damn entire worlds. The choice before you is not simple, the Nexus continued. Accept our bond, and you become responsible for decisions that will echo across galactic history. Refuse, and watch as the knowledge we have preserved falls into the hands of those who would use it for conquest.
What about my life? My friends? My humanity? Enhanced, not abandoned.
You would gain perspectives spanning eons while retaining the compassion and curiosity that brought you here. Time moves differently for Guardians. You could experience the rise and fall of civilizations while still maintaining connections to individuals you care about. Marcus felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him.
Accept, and he would transcend human limitations to become something unprecedented.
Refuse, and potentially watch the galaxy burn.
There is another option, the Nexus said quietly. One we have never offered before. What? Shared guardianship. Your bond with Vireneth has created possibilities we did not anticipate.
Rather than accepting the role alone, you could share the responsibility and burden.
Marcus felt Vireneth's presence joining the mental conversation. Shared guardianship? Is such a thing possible?
The archives speak of it in theoretical terms, the Nexus explained. Two beings of different species, bonded by trust and common purpose, sharing the guardian role. It would be unprecedented, but your partnership has already achieved things we thought impossible.
What would that mean? Marcus asked.
Enhanced capabilities for both of you, shared access to our knowledge, and the ability to divide responsibilities based on your respective strengths. Vireneth's wisdom and memory, combined with your innovation and adaptability.
Before Marcus could respond, alarms began echoing through the sanctuary.
The Hunter fleet had arrived at the Nexus perimeter and was beginning their assault on the station's defenses. Decide quickly, Vireneth urged.
We cannot hold them off much longer without enhanced capabilities.
Marcus looked at the dragon, thinking about everything they had accomplished together. Vireneth had trusted him completely, sharing ancient secrets and accepting help from a species barely 50 years into galactic civilization. Their partnership had achieved the impossible. Why couldn't it continue? Shared guardianship, Marcus said firmly.
If Vireneth accepts, then I do too.
The dragon's mental voice carried deep emotion.
I accept. Let us face this responsibility together. The Nexus core pulsed with brilliant light as both beings pressed their palms against its surface.
Energy flowed between them, connecting their consciousness to the vast intelligence that guided the sanctuary. Marcus felt his awareness expanding exponentially, knowledge and capability flooding through his enhanced neural pathways. But, more importantly, he felt Vireneth's presence beside him, their minds linked not just to the Nexus but to each other.
They remained themselves human and dragon while gaining access to wisdom that spanned galactic history.
Remarkable, the Nexus consciousness observed.
Your bond creates resonances we did not predict. You are stronger together than either could be alone.
The enhancement process took only minutes, but Marcus emerged feeling fundamentally changed. His perception of space and time had expanded, his understanding of physics and consciousness deepened beyond human norms. Yet he still felt like himself, still driven by the same curiosity and compassion that had brought him here.
How do you feel?
Vireneth asked, his mental voice now carrying new harmonics that Marcus could interpret with perfect clarity.
Different. But still me.
Marcus looked at his hands, noting subtle changes in his vision that allowed him to perceive quantum fluctuations and dimensional variations.
What about the hunters? Now we deal with them.
Together, the new Guardians moved to the Nexus Control Center, where crystalline displays showed the attacking fleet attempting to breach the station's dimensional barriers. The hunters were using sophisticated technology, but their weapons were designed for conventional space combat.
They cannot penetrate our defenses directly, Viraneth observed. But, they carry quantum disruption devices that could destabilize the dimensional matrix containing this sanctuary. Marcus studied the tactical displays with his enhanced perception, seeing patterns and possibilities that would have been invisible to his unaugmented mind. They're not trying to destroy the Nexus. They're trying to force it back into normal space where they can board it. A sound strategy. Once the station materializes fully in conventional dimensions, their superior numbers would allow them to overwhelm our defenses. Then, we don't let them succeed. Marcus reached out through his connection to the Nexus, feeling the vast technological systems that maintained the sanctuary. With his enhanced understanding, he could perceive the delicate balance of forces that kept the station stable across multiple dimensional layers. What are you planning? Viraneth asked, sensing Marcus's intentions through their shared bond. Something appropriately human. We're going to fix their little red wagon. Working together, the Guardians began modifying the Nexus's dimensional systems. Marcus contributed innovation and adaptability, while Viraneth provided wisdom and deep knowledge of exotic physics. Their enhanced capabilities allowed them to make adjustments that would have taken conventional engineers years to accomplish. If we recalibrate the phase variance generators, Marcus explained as he worked, we can create a feedback loop that turns their quantum disruption devices against them. Elegant. Their own weapons will become anchors that trap them in dimensional flux. The modifications took careful timing, but, within an hour, the new Guardians had reconfigured the Nexus defenses. When the Hunters activated their quantum disruption devices, expecting to destabilize the sanctuary's dimensional barriers, they instead found their own ships caught in a temporal web that left them frozen between dimensions. Impossible, came the transmitted voice of Ketherivas, the lead hunter. The Nexus should not be capable of such defenses. The Nexus has new Guardians, Marcus replied over the communication channel. And, we don't appreciate uninvited guests. You cannot hide forever, human. We know what that station contains. We know the power it represents. Actually, Marcus said, feeling confidence flow through his enhanced consciousness, I think it's time we had a conversation about what you're really after. Using his Guardian privileges, Marcus opened a communication channel that bypassed the Hunter's security systems, speaking directly to every ship in their fleet. Attention Kethmori vessels. This is Guardian Chen of the Nexus Sanctuary. We know who you are and what you want. The silence that followed was telling. Finally, a different voice responded, older, carrying authority that spoke of ancient power. Impossible. The Kethmori Empire was destroyed 1,000,000 years ago. But, not its survivors. You've been hiding in the void between galaxies, rebuilding your strength, waiting for the opportunity to reclaim what you lost. Dragon memories would give you access to the weapons and technologies needed to restore your empire. You know nothing of what we have endured, young Guardian. The alliance that destroyed us was led by dragons and their allies. We seek only what is rightfully ours. What's rightfully yours is exile, Viraneth interjected, his mental voice carrying harmonics of absolute authority. Your empire was built on suffering and oppression. It was destroyed because it deserved destruction. And, yet we survive, dragon. We adapt. We grow stronger. Marcus felt anger building in his enhanced consciousness, but, also something else, an opportunity. You want dragon knowledge? I'll make you a deal. Marcus Zviraneth said privately, what are you planning? Trust me. What kind of deal? The Kethmori leader asked suspiciously. Single combat. Your champion against our guardian. Winner takes all, the Nexus archives and dragon memories, or the complete destruction of your fleet. You would risk everything on single combat? I would risk everything on the principle that might doesn't make right. Your champion against me, using whatever weapons or abilities you choose. If you win, you get access to the archives. If I win, you leave this galaxy forever. Marcus Viraneth said with alarm, even with Guardian enhancements, you are one being against their most powerful warrior. The risk is worth taking if it means protecting what we've sworn to guard. The Kethmori leader considered the offer for long minutes before responding. Acceptable. We will send our greatest champion. Prepare yourself, Guardian.
Marcus felt his enhanced perception analyzing the approaching shuttle, noting weapon signatures and energy patterns that suggested his opponent would be formidable indeed. But he also felt something else, confidence born not of arrogance, but of understanding what he had become.
Are you certain about this? Vireneth asked as they prepared for the coming battle. I'm certain that someone has to make a stand. If not us, then who?
The Kethmori champion who emerged from the shuttle was everything Marcus had expected: tall, pale, and radiating an aura of barely contained power. Ancient cybernetic implants covered half his body, while the rest showed the enhanced musculature of a being bred for war.
I am Drakthul, the champion announced, his voice echoing through the Nexus docking bay.
I have destroyed star systems and conquered galaxies. You face extinction, little guardian.
Marcus stepped forward, his enhanced senses analyzing his opponent's capabilities.
The cybernetic implants were weapons as much as enhancements, capable of generating energy blasts that could level buildings. The champion's organic components had been genetically modified for strength and speed far beyond normal limits. I'm Marcus Chen, Marcus replied simply.
I fix things. The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded galactic history.
Drakthul fought with the precision and fury of a being bred for conquest, his cybernetic weapons generating enough energy to melt through solid metal. But Marcus had advantages the champion hadn't anticipated. Guardian enhancement had given him perception that operated across multiple dimensions, allowing him to see attacks before they fully materialized in normal space. More importantly, his bond with Vireneth provided access to dragon wisdom about combat and strategy spanning millions of years. You fight like a machine, Marcus observed, dodging a blast that would have vaporized him, but you think like one too. Predictable patterns, maximum efficiency, minimum creativity.
Efficiency wins wars, human. Maybe. But creativity ends them.
Marcus drew on his enhanced understanding of physics and engineering, using the Nexus environment itself as a weapon. When Drakthul fired energy blasts, Marcus redirected them through dimensional rifts that sent the attacks back at their source. When the champion tried to use superior strength, Marcus manipulated gravity fields to even the odds.
Impossible, Drakthul snarled as his own weapons turned against him.
No being can manipulate spacetime so precisely.
You're right. No single being can. But I'm not fighting alone.
Through his bond with Vireneth, Marcus had access not just to dragon knowledge but to dragon capabilities.
The enhancement had created something unprecedented, a being that combined human innovation with dragon wisdom, mechanical aptitude with cosmic understanding. The battle raged across the docking bay, then spilled into the Nexus corridors as Drakthul sought advantage in different environments.
But everywhere they fought, Marcus adapted faster, learned quicker, and fought with the accumulated wisdom of beings that had defended the galaxy for millions of years. Finally, in a chamber overlooking the cosmic vistas that surrounded the Nexus, Marcus made his decisive move. Rather than trying to match Drakthul's strength, he used the champion's own power against him, channeling the energy from his cybernetic weapons into the chamber's dimensional stabilizers.
You want to know the difference between your empire and the alliance that destroyed it?
Marcus said as Drakthul found himself trapped in a web of his own redirected energy. The alliance learned from every species it encountered.
Your empire only learned how to dominate. This is impossible. This is evolution. This is what happens when beings choose cooperation over conquest. Marcus looked at the defeated champion with something approaching pity. Your people could have chosen a different path. Even now, they could choose differently. Drakthul's expression shifted from rage to something like confusion. You would offer mercy to those who sought to destroy you? I'd offer the chance to learn. To grow. To become something better than what you've been. The Kethmori leader's voice crackled through the communication system. Impossible.
You defeated our greatest champion.
How?
Marcus returned to the docking bay, where the hunter fleet still floated trapped in dimensional flux.
I had help. I had friendship.
I had the accumulated wisdom of beings who believe that knowledge should serve life, not death. You speak of wisdom, yet you are barely more than a child by galactic standards.
Maybe.
But sometimes it takes a child to see what adults have forgotten. You can keep hunting dragons, keep trying to rebuild an empire based on fear and oppression.
Or you can try something different. What do you propose? Marcus felt Vireneth's presence in his mind, sharing understanding and approval for what he was about to offer. Redemption.
A chance to learn from the knowledge you've been seeking to steal. Not to rebuild an empire, but to build something better. The silence that followed stretched across long minutes. Finally, the Kethmori leader spoke again, his voice carrying uncertainty rather than arrogance.
You would trust us with access to the archives? I trust you with the opportunity to earn that access. Prove that you can choose cooperation over conquest, wisdom over power. Show that you can contribute to galactic civilization rather than destroying it. And, if we refuse? Marcus looked at the trapped fleet, then, at the vast sanctuary surrounding them.
Then, you leave this galaxy forever, as agreed. But, you'll leave knowing that you had a chance to become something greater and chose to remain what you've always been.
The decision process among the Kethmori took hours.
Marcus could sense heated debates raging across their fleet communications, factions arguing between traditional conquest and the unprecedented opportunity for redemption. Finally, the leader spoke again. We accept your terms, Guardian. We will attempt this cooperation you propose.
Good choice.
Marcus and Vireneth spent the next several days establishing the framework for what would become known as the Kethmori Rehabilitation Project. Rather than immediate access to the most dangerous knowledge in the archives, the former empire would begin with basic principles of cooperation and mutual benefit. Their progress would be monitored, their contributions evaluated, their worthiness for deeper knowledge proven through actions rather than words. You realize, Vireneth observed as they watched the first Kethmori students arriving at the Nexus, that you have just rewritten the fundamental principles governing Guardian behavior. Previous Guardians preserved knowledge.
You are using it to transform civilizations. Is that wrong? It is unprecedented. And, possibly brilliant. Rather than simply preserving the past, you are actively shaping the future.
Marcus felt satisfaction flow through his enhanced consciousness. This was what being human meant, not accepting that things had to remain as they were, but believing they could always be made better. Speaking of the future, Marcus said, we should probably contact the Federation. They're going to want to know what happened to their most wanted dragon hunters.
And, how do you propose to explain our new circumstances?
Marcus grinned, feeling the expression carry harmonics that his enhanced perception could appreciate on multiple levels.
Very carefully.
But, I think they'll be interested in what we've learned about cooperation between species. The message Marcus sent to Federation Command was carefully crafted to emphasize the peaceful resolution of the crisis without revealing too many details about the Nexus itself.
Dragons were ancient allies rather than legendary creatures. The Kethmori were reformed enemies seeking redemption rather than conquered foes.
The Nexus was a sanctuary for diplomatic resolution rather than a repository of universe-changing knowledge. Commander Yelix's response arrived within hours, her cybernetic voice crackling with bewilderment. Mr. Chen, Federation records indicate you departed Kepler Station 6 days ago for a routine supply run. Sensors now show your vessel in a region of space that shouldn't exist, accompanied by what appear to be previously unknown lifeforms engaged in peaceful educational activities. Life's funny that way, Commander.
You never know what you'll discover when you're open to new experiences.
The Federation Council is requesting a full briefing on your diplomatic achievements. Marcus looked at Vireneth, who radiated amusement at the situation.
Tell them we'll be happy to provide a briefing.
But, they might want to send someone with an open mind and a strong constitution.
We've got a lot to explain.
The weeks that followed saw a steady stream of Federation diplomats, scientists, and officials making the journey to the Nexus. Each group left with expanded understanding of what was possible when beings chose cooperation over competition, wisdom over power. More importantly, they carried news of humanity's unprecedented achievement back to their home worlds. Marcus Chen, a simple mechanic from Earth, had not only saved the last dragons but had convinced a million-year-old enemy empire to choose redemption over conquest. You realize, Vireneth said as they watched another group of Federation representatives departing, that your actions have fundamentally altered humanity's position in galactic society. Your species will never again be considered junior members of the Federation.
Good. Maybe now we can start really contributing to galactic civilization. You already have, my friend. You already have.
Marcus settled back into his guardian duties, splitting his time between maintaining the Nexus archives and overseeing the continuing Kethmori rehabilitation project. His enhanced consciousness allowed him to perceive time on cosmic scales while still maintaining connection to the immediate moments that gave life meaning. He often thought about the chain of events that had brought him here: a damaged Altarian ship, a wounded dragon, a moment when he had chosen to help rather than hide. Each decision had led to greater responsibility, but also to greater understanding of what it meant to be part of something larger than himself.
Do you miss your old life? Vireneth asked one evening as they watched stars being born in distant galaxies.
Marcus considered the question, feeling the vast network of consciousness that connected him to the Nexus and to civilizations across the galaxy. He was no longer simply human, but he was more human than he had ever been before, embodying the qualities that made his species valuable to the greater galactic community. "I miss the simplicity sometimes," Marcus admitted. "But I wouldn't change what we've become. We've got work to do, you and I, knowledge to preserve, species to guide, futures to shape."
Indeed.
And perhaps other guardians to train when the time comes.
Other guardians?
The Nexus speaks of preparations for expansion. Other sanctuaries, other archives, other partnerships between species seeking to preserve wisdom rather than power. Marcus felt excitement build in his enhanced consciousness at the possibilities that implied.
A network of guardians. Humans and dragons and, maybe others, working together to guide galactic civilization.
Now you begin to understand the true scope of what you accepted when you chose to help a wounded stranger. Marcus laughed, the sound carrying harmonics that resonated through multiple dimensions.
"I just wanted to fix your wing.
And, in doing so, you helped fix something much larger. You reminded the galaxy that cooperation is stronger than conquest, that wisdom is more valuable than power, that sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply choose to help." As they watched the cosmic vista unfold before them, Marcus felt the deep satisfaction of work well done and challenges yet to come. He had started as a mechanic who fixed broken things. Now he was a guardian who helped heal broken civilizations. And, somewhere out in the galaxy, other mechanics and dragons and beings he had never dreamed of were probably facing their own moments of choice, opportunities to help rather than harm, to build rather than break, to become more than they had ever imagined possible. The universe was vast and full of wonders, but the most wonderful thing of all was that it was filled with beings capable of choosing compassion over fear, cooperation over conquest, wisdom over power. Marcus Chen, guardian of the Nexus, settled in for the long watch ahead, secure in the knowledge that he was exactly where he belonged, standing with friends against the darkness, protecting what was precious, and helping to build a galaxy where all beings could thrive. The stars wheeled overhead in their eternal dance, and, somewhere among them, new stories were beginning that would someday bring other unlikely heroes to face their own impossible choices. But that, as they say, is another story entirely.